Hi, everybody. I'm here live from my apartment in the West Village. I've been doing these regular concerts, mini concerts, about a half an hour long each time, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And today, I'd like to devote the time to paying a tribute to my dear friend, Hal Wilner, who died just a couple of days ago on his birthday, very tragically, of COVID 19. And this is the closest death to me so far uh, during this epidemic. And anyway, Hal was an inspiration. I've known him since I moved to New York in 1977. And what can I say? I'll be playing some music associated with Hal and myself because I worked on a number of his albums and live projects over many years during this broadcast. And I'll just play a little bit right now, a theme from Fellini's Amarcord, I Remember. Yes, that's La Strada, another great piece by Nino Rota. And just if you know Hal's amazing recorded output, he first came out with an album. It was probably the first multi-artist tribute album where he assembled a lot of great talented artists to pay a tribute to the music, the wonderful music of Nino Rota, who's just about my favorite film composer. And this is what I got to say about me and Hal. A lot of our passions and obsessions culturally definitely dovetailed. Nino Rota was one of them. So I have one more Nino Rota piece to play. Very sadly, there was a big concert scheduled 2 summers ago, at the end of July, for the Lincoln Center Out of Doors Festival at Damrosch Park here in Manhattan. And it was going to be Hal's tribute to Nino Rota, a New York-style version. I think he'd done one in the UK. And I was lined up to play in it and rehearsed with it, and the thing was rained out about 15 minutes before showtime, which was really sad, and we'll never have a chance to recreate it, unfortunately, live with Hal there, because he was so integral to it. And that's one thing I have to say. This guy was possessed of the spirit of music. The very first time I met him, I just moved to New York in 1977 in the spring, and I forget who told me about Hal, but said, you two guys should meet. And I vividly recall him coming over here to this apartment in the West Village and bopping in, listening with headphones on a Sony Walkman to a tape of Jelly Roll Morton, who he loved, and with shades on. And then, we had a great talk about all sorts of music, including Captain Beefheart, which I'm going to get to. And then I escorted him out to Hudson Street to get a cab back to home. And he was dancing, basically, and bopping along with his phones on, just lost in music. And, he was really, what can I say, just an unforgettable character, if you knew him. And all right, so here's some music from La Dolce Vita. Let's do it. I wish we could have done that Nino Rota concert. But anyway, I'll play a little bit of some Captain Beefheart music. I did a symposium for Beefheart, a.k.a. Don Van Vliet, several times in New York. And Hal joined in on one that I did at the old knitting factory on Leonard Street. It was called Beefheart Night at the Knit. So just hold on a second. Okay. I've got a National Steel guitar here that was made in Shanghai, China, which I love very much, and it was kindly sent to me by the company, the Shanghai Rematch Guitar Company. So I'm going to do a little bit of Ice Cream for Crow, title song of the very last Captain Beefheart album, which I performed on. Now, shuttling back and forth between guitars, I want to talk about how is one of probably the most profound influence on my life in music, namely introducing me to the late, great Jeff Buckley. And I'll just tell a little bit about how that came about. Hal, as mentioned, loved to do these multiple artist tributes. And in the spring of 1991, he rang me up and said, I'm doing a tribute to Tim Buckley. And I said, oh, I love Tim Buckley. I bought his albums when I was in high school and was a tremendous fan. He said, okay, I'd like you to take part in this. And by the way, his son, Jeff, would like to also take part. I said, I didn't know he had a son. And he said, well, neither did we, but he's come forward to the people running it. This was Susan Feldman and Janine Nichols, who ran Arts at St. Anne's in Brooklyn out of the church, St. Anne's Church there. And I think you guys would be really good together. So I was open to the idea. I'm always open to a good collaboration. So I said, of course, okay, sure, put us together. So I went down there to do a rehearsal with a singer I was involved in at that point, and it went well. And then I was packing up outside the main tabernacle in this church where the show was going to take place. And this kid approached me who was unmistakably Jeff Buckley, was the spitting image of Tim, albeit a younger version. And he was incredibly enthusiastic and said, I want to work with you. I loved your guitar playing with Beefheart, and I read about you in Guitar Player, etc. So I invited him over, and we started to work together. And we wrote a song that very day. I think this was the day before the show now. And so we bonded right away, musically and also in terms of musical passion. So Hal was right on the money there. And later on, after a few months, Jeff was in L.A. Things weren't going too well for me. It's a long story, but you can read about this in my book, Touched by Grace. Anyway, I rang up Jeff, and he said, I'll be your singer. So I had to provide music at that point for our collaboration. And in 1 week, I finished off one instrumental I've been working on and composed another one, sent them to Jeff via snail mail, and he said, they're beautiful, okay, I got an idea, and he came to New York shortly thereafter, and that is how the songs Grace and Mojo Pin came to be written. So I would like to play that music now. I demoed these songs up with Jeff, and actually went over to Hal's apartment after we got the demos back, and he was really enthusiastic. He said, I want in. I clearly recall his words there. He wanted in as far as this being an album project, and sadly it was derailed. That's another story, but the music lives on, and it's really thanks to Hal putting us together that the whole thing came about. So here we go. It's a little taste of Mojo Pin and Grace. And I recently had the privilege of working with some great Italian musicians, a guy called The Nero and his friend Francesco Arpino in Rome, and an album came out called The Complete Jeff Buckley and Gary Lucas Songbook on the Ezor Disco label. And check it out because Jeff and I wrote about 12 songs, and those are the two best known. And a few came out on an album called Songs to No One, early work of Gary Lucas and Jeff Buckley on Knitting Factory Records. I would also refer you to that. And Hal was the producer on that record. He helped compile that album from all these tapes that I had. I had about 6 hours. There's a lot of stuff there still, and he made a selection. And anyway, I want to thank him in absentia for that. And also mention, I did some recording on one of his multiple artist tributes, and that was to the great Charles Mingus. There's a version that I arranged of Mingus's Haitian Fight Song, which I perform on that record on the steel guitar, on National Steel. And anyway, Hal and I would see each other fairly irregularly, over the years, but always very warmly. I'd love to get with this guy and see what he was up to. And anyway, I'm going to do a version of a song now. It's another one from Songs to No One, and it's called She Is Free, just as a little solo piece here. Free. And anyway, I'm sorry how we didn't get a chance to do that album together, but I know he was around all the gestation of that project that I did with Jeff from the beginning, and it was thanks to him. Really, I owe him so much for putting us together, because that's probably the moment I'm most proud of in music. We have a few minutes. I just wanted to say, please, if you like these broadcasts, you can express your appreciation, and I wish you would, at PayPal. This sounds very crass, I know, but look, we're right now in a very uncertain time. I'm a freelance musician, as my wife is a freelance casting director, and there are very few gigs. All my gigs have been postponed or canceled, and no one is really coming forward to do much in the way of definitive bookings. It's all very vague. So I'd really appreciate it if you can spare anything. Now, I want to thank these people. Wendy Goldman Rome, who was so generous last couple of days ago in my broadcast. Joseph Wilson and Marilyn Goldman, also super generous. Les Zubli, I don't know where this fellow is from. And then a guy just signed off, Signbox Antwerp. But it was very appreciated, very helpful. And I'll just close, too, in memoriam to Hal Wilner. I could tell you so much more about Hal, and I don't have the time, and I might tear up and cry. I've been very close to it in the last couple of days since I heard the news. But I would like to play in appreciation for his beautiful contribution to musicians and music on Earth, and the fact that he was such a beautiful soul and a beautiful cat. This is George Gershwin, my arrangement of Our Love Is Here to Stay. But thanks everybody for listening, tuning in. I'm Gary Lucas. I'll be back Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, just want to say we loved you, Hal, and we're never going to forget you. Bye now.